shaft saga comes to a head. We attempt to determine what our shafts are made of, get frustrated with a cutlass bearing that doesn't fit, and finally get the rudders and steering arms back in place. We even applied prop speed for the very first time. But just when we thought everything was going smoothly and that we would launch on time, some friggin' idiot steals our spare props. $10,000 value gone. We get them back? I'll save you the suspense. Nope. So if it's stainless,
If it's good stainless, it's not magnetic. If it's crap stainless, it is magnetic.
that's pretty magnetic.
That's pretty magnetic.
Is it steel?
So, if you come over here,
Watch the red with your head, please. That was really close.
I'm aware. This is good stainless. Nada. So next question is, that shaft, which is the tail shaft.
Coming over. Hold on.
So what we've got is two shafts of
Shit stainless.
questionable quality. And
What about the tail?
the intermediate shaft on this side?
And we're missing one.
No, it's in the front of this one. So
Okay.
let's check that one.
I was like, we're missing a shaft. Hold
I'm not
on.
expecting super things out of this one. Oh, actually,
That one's good.
that one's good.
So it's just the two tail shafts.
We've got two crap shafts and two
But it's only the two tail shafts that are crap.
no, it's the one side shaft. So that's an intermediate shaft, that's the tail shaft. But they're on opposite sides.
Okay, we need to write this down. So port tail,
starboard mid,
starboard mid,
intermediate.
intermediate. Port tail, starboard intermediate need to be replaced.
Yeah. And you can tell just by looking, like this one's been sitting out in the elements. Look at the rust staining on it. So this is why we're pickling them, to give them their best chance.
Oh no, you lost the blade. What are you doing with your favorite tool? Okay, second favorite tool.
Yes. The way to get cutlass bearings out is either you have a puller, which doesn't work in here because I've got nowhere to get it in. I've got nothing to push against. Or you take a Sawzall carefully and you split the cutlass bearing. And when you split the cutlass bearing, it will shrink down. And then you can get in there and knock it out from the back side. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the Sawzall to carefully split the bottom edge of this cutlass bearing, and then I can get in here with a chisel and I can chisel it up. So
What is a cutlass bearing?
that's the bearing that the prop shaft rides on. So it's basically a tube that's got rubber on the inside of it, that's got grooves cut into it for water flow to cool it, and then it's got like teeth all the way around that ride on the shaft.
But you didn't think we had to change this over, and now we're cutting it out.
I didn't think we had to change any, but this one is in rough shape, so it really needs to be replaced. You can see where it's gotten hot and the rubber's melted a bit on the one side, so I'm just getting rid of it.
Are you able to show us? Here.
It'd be tricky, but maybe.
Let's see if I can get right behind you.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to see it with the light, but you can see how all the rubber in there is flat. There's not really much for grooves anymore for cooling.
It's almost like a tire tread.
Yep, yeah, pretty much. And it's rubber, and then you can see where I've started to cut through.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to do a little bit of grinding on the bottom down here because there's going to be a set screw that's going to go up.
There is. I remember painting over it.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to find that, and probably the easiest way for me to deal with that is just going to be to drill it out. But anyway, that's it.
So you reckon more of my paint job?
Yep. Good thing you have lots of time to repair it. Yeah, I can't. So I'm going to see if I can maybe start hammering on that. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find. Actually, I think I can see where that set screw is.
Yeah, it's I did cover it. I didn't fill it.
Oh, you filled it.
No. You goober.
So I've got that split. So what I have to do now is peel it up around the outside edge. I've already done a little bit of that, but I'm just going to open it up a little bit more. Split off all the bottom paint because I'm hoping that I can grab that edge and just pull it out. Which I have to admit, I haven't ever had to pull a composite cutlass bearing out, and so far it's gone pretty well. Because it seems to be super soft. Nope, can't just pull it out yet, so I have to keep working it around, seeing if I can get that folded up a little bit more. Ah! And there it is. You can see what I did there. Once you do that, you can close it up, comes right out. Right up. Right enough. 2 cutlass bearings. I'm putting it in right now anyway, I'm just...
But you got 2 cutlass bearings. I thought we only needed 1.
No, I need 2.
Why 2? They both go in the same hole?
No, they're only short here.
Oh, so you're putting one in the other side, or just saving it? Oh, you cut it, it didn't fit?
It's going to have to fit because this is the only size I make it at. No, it's the right size. It's just the it's a little tight, and I'm wondering if that might have been why it was worn so much. Yeah, that's going to be snug. Well, like I said, that's the only size that they make them in.
You have to heat it up and shove it in, or what are we going to do?
No, I'll figure it out.
Do we have to grind out the hole?
No. Well, shit. Let me go check the catalog again. Oh, wait, something.
Maybe ordered the wrong ones?
These might not fit. Because apparently those might be a different size than those. So, we'll see.
I'm in a funk. I think the problem is we've been in the boatyard longer than 2 months. I can't see the water. I miss my kids. And I just don't see an end in sight right now. I think that's the hardest part. And I feel bad because really this is all on Blaine. There's nothing I can do to help him. I wish we had maybe just one more Blaine on board, but maybe this project is just bigger than we thought it would be. And it's trying to stay positive, and it's like, okay, we can do this. But it is seriously, like, you look in the engine room and it's a little bit overwhelming. We keep moving forwards, but I don't know if we see that light at the end of the tunnel yet. And I'm not bitching or complaining. It's great that we could do this. It's great having a boat and stuff like that, but it is a frigging lot of work. And I think, especially when you're doing it by yourself, and you're seeing these YouTube videos where everything seems like a highlight reel, everything's awesome and good. What we don't show you is the tears, the, man, are we ever going to finish this? The, I really want to get back in the water. The money you're hemorrhaging when you're in the boatyard. The stress of finances. It's just, that's the stuff we don't show you. And I think we're doing a disservice to the people who buy their own boats and want to do this, that we don't tell you actually how stressful it is. The boatyard is not, woohoo, yay, we're in the boatyard. It's kind of like that for the first week. Second week is, okay, this is fun. After 2 months, it's like, frig, can we just get out of here? Like, all we're doing is paying money every day and money's not coming in. We've taken time off work to do this, and it's just no end in sight. But yeah, that's kind of the mood on board today. We're getting stuff done, but we're also kind of down while doing it, which kind of sucks actually. Everyone, Janice here from the future. If you're new to the channel, you're probably a bit confused on why we are showing our Repower from 2024. We want to tell the whole story. We also want to give you in detail what actually went into this Cummins Repower. However, we leave tomorrow on the Great Siberian Sushi Run, which means we're leaving Victoria, we're heading to Alaska, Siberia, Japan, and hopefully arriving in Japan around September 2026. However, we've got some cool stuff happening in Alaska, especially with the engines and the engine room. So that's just a little bit of a hint of what's coming up. We are going to catch up to real time fairly quickly, I promise you. If you do want to see the adventure and the traveling, go to our other channel at Exploring the World on board Tongaroa. And if you want real-time updates, we put out a video every week for our crew. And you can join that at onboardtangaroa.com.
I have finally got the new cutlass bearing, so I can get the port shaft back in, do an alignment on the port engine, and start building exhaust. So I'm just in the process of putting it back in, and I'm in here just kind of cleaning out all the heavier surface corrosion, like just the flakes or whatnot, just so the cutlass bearing sits flat and doesn't bind on anything. And then I'll get it pressed in, and hopefully we'll be good to go here. And that's one cutlass bearing in.
Is it rudder time?
Rudder time!
Rudder time! Rudder time, rudder time, rudder time. What's that song?
Peanut butter jelly time.
Peanut butter jelly time, rudder time.
Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter
Can
jelly.
you do like propeller rudder time, prop and rudder time? No, that doesn't work.
Oh, that's Family Guy.
I don't know.
We do prop and rudder time. We do
Prop and rudder time.
Prop and rudder time. Prop and rudder time.
What are you doing though?
Just scraping off all the scale.
It is scaly. And you got my tape off? Because the tape was been on there for a while. Sorry.
Yeah, it came right off.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no issues.
And then we're going to get the rudders on. And we're going to do the propellers. And the zincs are on. We are almost ready to go in the water. Not to run the engines, just go in the water.
Make sure the shaft is nice and clean before you jam it in there.
Oh, Blaine, already?
What?
Come on, scrub that shaft.
This kid just never not.
I'm getting flashbacks to last time we were in the yard, putting up these rudders with the little jack from our Japanese mini truck. We're doing the same thing. So Blaine's doing it by himself this time.
I gotta get the shaft alignment just right.
Oh, it's gotta go forward.
Yeah.
You want help?
Not yet.
Not yet. I will just record then. So people, you know, you can see what he's doing. It's back a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, right there.
That's pretty close, hey?
Yeah, it's pretty close. That's the spot, Blaine.
Pretty hard to find it sometimes.
Last time, didn't we bring it up enough, and then we blocked it up, and then we had to put the jack underneath another block?
Yep. I'm also gonna have to go get underneath the head of our bed and put stuff on as we go up with it too.
Oh, right. I remember now, this is actually a long process. And we have 2 of them to do.
A little bit farther forward, like right there.
Okay.
So it's centered underneath the pen as best we can. Alright, so down under the head of our bed here. Pop that guy open. This is where our rudders live. So got one over here, one over there. So I've got to get all this steering gear reattached on here when we come back up with the rudders. I've got the port one coming back in here now. I've got enough of it on there where I can actually lift up and place that guy back on. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
Blaine has told me to go up. I'm going up! How's it going? This jack is like stopping, holding. This jack is like the best thing ever.
Okay. You're good. Okay, stop. Hold there for a sec. Got to make sure we get that back on there before we go up and before we put this guy back on. Can you come down a hair?
What?
Can you come back down a bit?
Down?
Yeah.
Down?
Keep coming. Keep coming. Okay, hold it there. Okay, up.
Up?
Yep.
How's that? Any good? More? Try that. Going up. Oh! Yeah, I just put the jack the wrong way.
Okay, stop. You're gonna have to, if you look at where the cutlass is, you'll see the gaps there, but you're gonna have to, basically the bottom of the rudder's got to go forward just a hair. But be careful because you don't want to rock it off of that jack.
How's that?
Still got to go more. Okay, try that.
So he is off to move the wheel. And the thing is, we almost need a third person with this, and maybe some radios would probably be better instead of Blaine and I just yelling. That's okay though. Luckily, we don't get frustrated with each other. Oh, sometimes. Not very often. How's that?
Looking good. Looking good.
Got 2 inches.
Okay, stand by.
One inch. You're at the top. Get some nuts on. We're at the top here. See, this is what I was showing you. then he's going to put the nuts on, and then I'm going to release it. We've got the keys and everything lined up, the wheel lined up.
Alright, so Janice has got these up high enough, and what I've got is I've got a collar here, and what that's for is there's a set screw there, so that set screws into the shaft of the rudder, and then there's these nuts that go down on top. So you have multiple points of retention on this rudder shaft, so it's not going to fall out on you, which is obviously a good thing. Okay, Janice, that jack can come out now. What?
How come it's so tight up?
What?
Is there not usually space between the rudder and the hull?
Well, you jacked it up.
Well, there is no space. It's tight.
That's fine.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I thought there was usually space, but maybe not. Huh. Okay, let's do starboard.
All right, I'm just working on getting all this rudder and shaft seal stuff back together again here. I just did a little bit of cleanup on the faces of the shaft seal so I could make sure it's sealed really well. Now I've got it just down touching the surface of the carbon side. So what you do is you just bring it down till it barely touches, and then there's a set compression that they spec for these. What I've found, and many of the other people that have been working in my field have found a lot of times, is that the standard compression distance that they give you in the manual, a lot of times is just not enough. So what we'll usually do is go down just a little bit farther, and they tend to work pretty well that way, especially for these rudder seals, because they're not turning fast or anything, so they're not getting hot. So I'll typically, go a decent amount extra on these just to make sure they don't leak. And when I say a decent amount extra, the spec on them is 1 inch. I'll go like 1 1/4 inches, and that's typically substantial enough. So these can be pretty difficult to compress. So what I usually do is I put a hose clamp on here, and then I pry off of the hose clamp, because that's a lot easier. And then the hose clamp is actually just another bit of retention as a safety, just in case your set screws should happen to come loose, which is a pretty small chance, but it's just always a habit that I've been into, and it's always treated me well over the years. This hose clamp's a little bit long, so it takes forever to get it tightened down where it needs to be. Okay, so that starts off. Let's see here. I'm going to take my Sharpie and mark the I can actually get in there. There we go. So that marks my starting point, and then it's just a matter of compressing the bloody thing, which is super not fun. Okay, let's see here. Grab a little piece of wood, put it in here. See if I can get a fit in here. All right, got one shaft seal all down and locked. So I'm going to move over to the starboard shaft now. don't think I showed this on the other side, but one of the first things I do is I put a set screw in the locking collar here. So this is at the very top of the shaft, and it's sitting on top of the rudder bearing. And I give that a good tighten up. That's the first line of defense. And then find my handy dandy wrench here. First thing I'm going to do is back that off just a hair. Oop, can't. Alright, so I got this one compressed down. Just getting the lock screws back in. These are brand new, which PSS recommend, well, not recommends, states you have to do every time. So that's what's happening. Brand spanking new screws. And then I'll take that hose clamp and come all the way down with it. So it's back up. One more. And then I'll go get my wrenches and tighten down these rudder quadrants here. Just make sure that they're all snug. And then we're done back here. Alright, there we go. And last thing's just a quick tighten up on the nuts for the rudder. All right, and we're done. Let's talk props. So we had the original props on board Tongaroa here, and we wanted to keep as much stuff as we could. We knew that likelihood would be that we would have to repitch at the very least our propellers, and that's pretty typical whenever you're doing an engine swap or a repower in a boat. The engines operate on different levels, different RPM ranges, and it's very important to get that matched up properly. Now, prop is a pretty simple device. It spins in the water and it pushes the boat forward. Now, how far it pushes the boat forward per revolution is called the pitch, and obviously you have the diameter on top of that. Typically, it's fairly accepted that larger diameter, slower turning propellers are more efficient. And every propeller itself has its own efficiency range where it's going to be happiest. So you really want to spend the time to make sure that you have the propeller in that range. So the first thing we did was, when we got to the yard, those propellers were removed and they were sent into Osborne Propeller to have them checked out and cleaned up. And also had them kind of run the numbers with the new engines and the power levels and the RPM levels, just to make sure that we were starting off kind of on the right foot. And turns out, he said, yeah, your propellers are in the ballpark. So with the change of the transmission gearing, that's what really made the difference. See, if I had kept the 2-to-1 ratio gearboxes in the boat and ran the Cummins engines on those, would not have been correct. There would have been too much pitch, because obviously, you know, the Detroit engines are a higher torque engine and a lower RPM engine compared to the Cummins. Cummins spin at a higher RPM and they have less torque. So with the change of the transmissions from 2-to-1 to 3-to-1, that kind of got us right in the same range. If you look at the actual torque numbers for the Cummins compared to the Detroits, once you put that 3-to-1 ratio transmission in there, they're very similar. Same with the RPMs. Once you get that 3-to-1 ratio transmission in there, your prop shaft RPMs are right in the same areas again on your normal cruise ranges and your RPM of your engine. So it all kind of just worked out really well. And I had done a lot of calculations on this as well, and you'd be really surprised. Like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you don't know, you're just guessing on, you know, your pitches until you do a sea trial. And while that's true, you'd be surprised how close you can get if you get right down to the numbers and start doing calculations on things. So basically, yeah, we got the props off to the prop shop. They said we were pretty much good to go with the pitch that we had to sea trial. And then once we did the sea trial, we could figure out where to go with our pitch from there. So we were basically crossing our fingers that we were pretty close on the pitch. Now, pitch can be considered similar to transmission gearing. Obviously, the lower the pitch, meaning the shorter the distance the prop's got to spin through the water or move the boat through the water, the less power it takes to turn it, but the slower the speed. So you kind of play with that a little bit to get your speeds, your efficiencies, and your power demands right. And as I talked about videos back, engines have a prop curve, and you can basically use that prop curve based on your fuel consumption to tell whether or not you're overloading or underloading the engine. So prop pitch choice is huge on a repower. Now, the important thing is when you're doing the sea trial is to make sure that the engine can reach its maximum rated RPM. That's kind of a critical thing, especially on the faster planing hulls. With the slower boats, trawlers and stuff, you can play around with that a little bit, or so I've read or been told. But for planing boats, it's extremely important because that's where you're spending a lot of time, is at that high load point where you're 75% load and above. On trawlers, especially on this one, we're way down low where we're spending our time. So chances of ever getting up to that area are fairly slim. So yeah, not near as important. Now, different hull types and different cruise styles totally alter where you're kind of basing your prop pitch and where you want it to load the engine. Obviously, on a planing hull, you're 75% throttle and above because you're getting there fast, you're using lots of power. So you want to make sure in that 75 to 100% range that you're not overloading the engine, because that's your normal operating range on that motor. Now, on trawlers and slower moving boats, displacement hulls and such, there's a few different metrics. You're not so much aiming for your high load, high RPM areas. You're trying to place that engine in its peak efficiency area. So you may not be sizing the propellers to run it at, you know, wide open throttle. You're sizing the propellers to be kind of right in that happy sweet spot on efficiency, which may overload that engine when you get up to higher load ranges and higher RPMs. But that's not your normal operating range, and it may not be a range that you will ever operate in. So yeah, you've got two different areas that you're kind of sizing for there. Or so I've read and been told. I'll give a bit of an example on, say, a trawler hull. So usually on your engines, you want some load on them. They work better when they're under a bit of load. And there's specific ranges in the operation of the RPM where the engine will be more efficient than in other ranges. Basically dynamics on turbocharger boost, camshaft profiles, things like that. So yeah, they'll operate most efficiently in one point. So say, for example, we take a 300 horsepower engine and we put it into a trawler hull. So fairly low horsepower requirements for the trawler hull, but we want that engine to still operate it in its peak efficiency area when we're at our 99% operating range at cruise. So what we would do is we would pitch the prop heavy enough, or with enough pitch where when we're at our cruise speed, we're reaching enough load on that engine to be able to get the best efficiency out of it. But that might have the same, or the side effect of pushing the boat into an overload condition should we try to go higher than that. But that's an operation range that the boat would never see. Just because you have 300 horsepower in an engine doesn't mean you require 300 horsepower, and it doesn't mean you're going to be operating at 300 horsepower. So you would size the engine so you're hitting that peak efficiency range and you're able to spin that big wheel at a lower RPM, but it wouldn't work at a higher RPM due to things like hull speeds, where your power requirement goes through the roof. That's what we're aiming for, is something that can give us our peak efficiency down low. Don't have to worry about it up top because you're never going to be there.
This morning we are applying a prop speed, and it has to be very specific on how it's applied. So Blaine and I think we have a plan. We've watched enough YouTube videos now that we've got 2 propellers and we've got 3 to 5 minutes. We got to put the second coat on. So he's going to start with 1 roller with the yellow etch. I'm going to follow behind. But first we have to, so much here. First we have to prop clean with this. So we got 2 of these, so he'll do one side, I'll do the other side, we'll prop clean. And then we got to do propeller wipes. And after using each of these wipes, we have to clean them with clean gloss, clean rags. We got lots of clean rags. And then we have to mix up this. This is all we have for 2 propellers. Mix this up with the hardener and then little 4-inch rollers. He's going to start. I'm going to follow 3 minutes after the rate he's going, and we're going to get these done 2 coats. And then we can take a break and I can go do some other stuff before putting the top coat on. But it is almost cold out here, and that's kind of what we need to give us some working time. Yeah, I'm a bit scared because this stuff's expensive, and if you screw it up, you screw it up. It's supposed to be amazing for propellers, so let's try it out. So first things first, the propellers have to be between 40 and 70. And I've got my little gun here. We're at 58. Like so. So it's 2 to 3 minutes of stirring the yellow.
Until it's nice and runny.
And then I gotta do another minute with the hardener in it. You guys ready to see this? Blaine, you ready?
As I'm gonna be.
Okay.
He actually, I don't think they have them yet.
Okay, yellow etch is done. That plan worked well with Blaine and I working together. And now I'm not on a huge time frame. So, the next, I just put my ass into it. Oh well. So it's drying nicely. The next one is, it's like a silicone base from what I understand. A clear coat contains silicone. So that's going to be the next one I put on. I just have to get my tray ready, and I have to get another roller ready. This roller can come off. Ooh. Yeah. I think I got $20 worth of yellow stuff on there just from the roller. Oh well. Okay, let's do it. Prop speed, clear coat. And you also have to remember, once you put prop speed on, if you have divers go down on your boat, or if you go down yourself, do not scrape your propellers, because it will scrape all the prop speed off, because this is like a silicone. Yeah, so make sure if you have divers go down your boat and you have prop speed on your propellers, tell them and say, do not scrape, just use a finger to get any barnacles off. Just flick them off, flick them. That's pretty good, guys. Okay. Keep them off. You come off to propeller number 2. Well, that sucks. I went down, took the dog out, looked in the back of my truck, and someone had stolen our second propeller set. Like they're just gone. And we haven't had anything stolen from here.
They've been out there for 2 months on the ground. And we put them in the back of the truck and...
Maybe it's because I brought them up to waist height for people.
Maybe. You made it easy.
So we're waiting for the security guy to come in so we can look at his CCTV. It sucks because they're going to take him to the scrapyard probably because they're... What are they made out of?
Bronze.
Bronze?
Mm-hmm.
So someone's just going to scrap them and they're good propellers.
Oh, we could phone the scrapyards and say we had 2 propellers stolen and to keep an eye out for anybody dropping off propellers.
I could do that. I don't know how many scrapyards are around here.
I'm going to start Googling right now, though.
And we're waiting for Glenn to come in at 8 o'clock to look at the cameras. And we're supposed to go in the water. And it just kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth. I mean, we've been here for so long. We've had such a great experience. And right on the last day, on the hard, someone steals something.
And the funny thing is all of our tools are down there. I've got 2 saws down there, angle grinders, burring.
I'm glad you didn't leave your welding stuff down there.
Oh, I know. I wouldn't have done that anyway. I barely left my welder down there just to walk over to talk to Jim. But yeah, just all the tools are still there. Everything's down there. It's just the propellers is the only thing they stole. Our big box of brand new insulation that you can't even tell what it is in the box, but it's a big, huge box they didn't bother with. So, I don't know. That's super weird.
The propellers were right there in the mini truck. I just talked to Glenn. He's looking through the CCTV footage. There is a camera right there. You can see on the tent. They'll be able to see a little bit of our back of our truck. And then this yard is locked up at 8 p.m. So it'll be really difficult for a guy to heft those things out of here. They're gonna have to be a truck. So the time is probably after 8 p.m. before 6 a.m., which is when I was awake. I would have heard something. So we'll see what Glenn can find, and I've got to phone the RCMP and make a report. And Blaine has been phoning scrapyards. At least the ones that are legal.
That are open.
Yes. I'm going to give you a bit of update about the propellers. So what happened is we called the RCMP. A fairly new RCMP officer came down. And let me just preface this. I've been a police officer for 20 years. I've also trained rookies. I've gone through all of that. I did identify myself as a police officer to him, just so he wasn't surprised. So he came down and he kind of took a report. I hate dissing other police departments, but let's just say I wasn't impressed with what was happening. We had CCTV that could really narrow down the time frame. The yard manager was so nice at Port of Steveston, and he was downloading the footage. I actually saw it that morning, so I knew that you could see a vehicle, and then you could probably time when that vehicle left the yard. Well, unfortunately, because time is of the essence here, because what happened with the propellers is probably they were grabbed, then they were cut up and dropped at one of the illegal meddling recycling places around. Well, unfortunately, the police officer did not follow up. He actually didn't follow up for a couple weeks on the CCTV. When I called him or spoke to him about a month later, he still hadn't even received it. He never looked at it that morning. So as soon as I knew all that, and again, it was, yeah, he needed to do better. I told him he needed to do better. I told him, I hope you take this as a learning lesson, that when you have CCTV like that, you need to look at it, you need to get your timings down, and you need to visit some houses and go knock on doors on where those cars went, right? So anyways, I was frustrated. I actually talked to their sergeant about how frustrated I was. There was a lot of excuses about too many files and stuff. Yeah, it was just a mess. So we did not get the propellers back. I thought there was a good chance. Again, that's 20 years of policing, many years in detectives. I thought there would have been a very good chance of him getting them back if he had followed up with it right away. And now you're probably going to ask, well, Janice, why didn't you get the license plate? Why didn't you follow up on it? I can't. Yes, I can police in all British Columbia, but that was the jurisdiction of the RCMP. I don't want to step on toes. I'm a municipal police department, so I felt very helpless and I was very frustrated. So propellers are gone. Luckily, our propellers that we were using were on the boat, and I was just put prop speed on them, so those did not get taken. But you know what? $10,000 value of bronze propellers. It sucked. And don't forget, tomorrow we set off on the Great Siberian Sushi Run. If If you want real-time updates and behind-the-scenes moments, join our crew over at onboardtongaroa.com. We'd love to have you along.